His coaching career at Ferris State in Big Rapids, and he's part of Goalie Nation for you goalies out there. Miami University, had a stint there, coaching the United States Hockey League at the junior level with Indiana, and won the Clark Cup there back in 2009. Head coach at Western Michigan for a short stint, college Division I level, and of course in the American League in Grand Rapids. We know he was head coach of the Detroit Red Wings for I think 7 years. Went to Tampa, and now this season has been named the new head coach of the Chicago Blackhawks. And please give it up for Jeff Blatchell. Black.
All right, thank you. Thanks, Fish, for having me. Fish and I've been together a lot, so I appreciate the intro for sure. These are always, I think, great opportunities. I love coming to this level 5 to share ideas, to hear different thoughts and ideas. I think is awesome. On top of kind of the perspective I've gained through the different levels coaching, it's almost every level. I've also coached 3 young children, 3 youth hockey players, one of which is still playing youth hockey, and had the opportunity not to coach, I should say, parented them. And so I have the perspective from a parent, and because of that, first I want to thank all of you, not just for the impact that you have on so many young people like my children, but for the idea that you're here continuing to try to get better. And that's a really, really cool and I think special thing. So, you know, again, it's you should be applauded for that. Warzo, what a job Ryan did here working through the technical difficulties. I can tell you that's probably your biggest fear, is that all of a sudden, technically it kind of craps out on you. Now, usually we have a video coach, and so when that kind of stuff happens, we just sit there and blame the video coach the whole time. So unfortunately, we weren't able to do that. And then, but great presentation. And same thing with Derek Lalonde. Newsy's a good friend of mine, so I can probably say this because he's a good friend of mine. The picture from Hockey Night in Canada. The watch is nice. The suit is okay, but the next time, Newsy, I think you're still here, the next time that you want a deflector, I'd go with a bag over your head. That's just me. I love going second to him. It's awesome, because trust me, he can whip me pretty good. So when Bob asked me to do this, I said, okay, and you can't actually see everything because of but the title is Winning Fundamentals First. And so what I thought I'd do was we're all kind of getting ready for our season. Some of you already started. I'm getting ready for our first training camp in Chicago. And so what I thought I'd do is kind of walk you through the parts of what's going to be important as we're preparing for our first messaging and our first practices with the Chicago Blackhawks, and what we're going to do in training camp. And what you'll see today in our practices is exactly what we're going to do. And so the reason it's titled Winning Fundamentals First is because as we've spoke as a staff, before we lay any structure, before we get into our structure, you have to have structure, and we're going to have structure implemented by the time training camp's done. But before we do that, we have to make sure we have that foundation, and that foundation is great winning fundamentals. And if you don't have that foundation, you can't have, so it doesn't matter what the structure is. On top of that, though, is we have an opportunity to kind of implement our mindset in what we're going to be about. You know, Wars talked about identity, and we're the same kind of way. We're going to implement our mindset to start, and I'll talk about culture a little bit. But you see on the screen here, it says "Earn This." So "Earn This" is something that's been a kind of a motto of mine with every team I've been a head coach going back to the Indiana Ice. And I first heard "Earn This" watching the movie Saving Private Ryan. So I'm sure most of you have seen that movie. If you haven't, you absolutely should. But in that movie, it's set in World War II. Tom Hanks' character is sent out to go get Matt Damon's character and bring him home safely. All his brothers have been killed in the war, bring him home safely. And at the end of that movie, Tom Hanks is mortally wounded. And he says to Matt Damon, "Earn this, earn it." And that always struck a chord with me. Like, I always thought, I think it's easy in life to kind of think that, kind of the world's stacked against you. Other people get all the breaks. Maybe get at times a little woe is me, and I always thought, man, if you compare that to you compare yourself to that person taking their last breath on earth, you understand real fast, you got unbelievable opportunities ahead of you every day, and you got to work to earn those opportunities. And so that was kind of my messaging. And then I came across this clip from a special on Tom Brady, pick number 199 it's called. And so, let's get the volume up.
Slow. Right. Too pretty to be a football player, but he was smarter than everyone. And he studied night and day, day and night.
Nobody works harder than Tom Brady.
If you didn't play well on Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday in practice in college, I didn't know if I was going to start the game. So when I come to the Patriots, that's how I treat Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
That's it.
A decade into his career, the man taken with pick 199 has achieved it all, but still feels he has plenty to prove.
It's not really a chip on my shoulder, it's just that feeling that, man, maybe nobody wants you. When I watch myself play at times, I still don't think I'm very good. Man, you're still not very fast. You know, you got a decent arm, you know, you made some pretty bad reads on that day. That's what gets me up and motivates me. I always want to feel like I'm the best quarterback for this team. I want to earn it every single day.
So for me, when I saw that clip, I thought, man, that's an unbelievable clip on fighting entitlement. And that's something that I think we're all challenged with as a coach. I think it's important to remember the impact that we have on players as coaches. And we live in a world today that's a kind of win-at-all-cost type of world in sports. And that's certainly true in the National Hockey League, but you know, it's more true than ever in college and in the freedom of player movement at a lot of different levels, including youth sports or youth hockey, where I think you can, you know, change teams until whatever, January 1st or whatever it is. That freedom of player movement can make it difficult at times for a coach to do the right thing and hold your players accountable. Because at times you might be a little bit afraid of your best player, of losing your best player if you coach them a little bit too hard. Or if you hold them accountable, if you make them, I would just term it, make them do it right. You know, so like the player has terrible body language and is showing up a teammate. Do you just keep putting them out the next shift, or do you sit them down for a shift to make sure? And I'm not talking about mistakes. I'm talking about things that you know, things like your 8th bad penalty in a row, things like that. Okay. To me, you're either creating an entitled mindset or you're creating an earn this mindset. And so like an entitled mindset to me leads to expecting. You expect a spot on the team. You expect to be on special teams. You expect the top line. You just expect success. And I think the result too many times, especially when the player's on their way up, is the result is a lack of work ethic, or a loss in work ethic and a loss in perseverance, which I think are the two most important factors in individual success. If you put it in place and earn this mindset, for me now, they know they have to put the work in to succeed. They're prepared to handle adversity because you've made them do it right. You've held them accountable and made them do it right. They understand and respect discipline and its role in success. Okay, so that would be something I'd implore you. Now for us, as we head in, and again, the slide gets cut off a little bit, but for us as we head in to our first training camp, we've got some challenges. And there are opportunities and challenges just like anything else. We've got a number of first round and second round picks on our team. Okay, a number of players that were drafted really, really high. And so with that, what comes with that is the reason I wanted the job, super talented group of players. Okay, but it also comes with certain challenges because again, they've been the best player at their level on the way up. So probably enough times if they don't have great coaches, maybe they've been allowed to do things and gotten away with stuff and not made to do it right. Okay, so that's a challenge. Another challenge for us is we've decided to be a real young hockey team. So now the players don't have to spend as much time. It's a quicker road to the NHL. They don't have to spend as much time in the American League. They don't have to grind it out. So that can potentially lead to some entitlement. I'm not saying that's the wrong decision. I'm just saying that's the challenge we face. So for me, we have to set a tone in this camp that we're going to be an earn this team, not an entitled team. And it doesn't mean that our guys won't get great opportunity. They will. They'll get great opportunity. It just means when they take that opportunity for granted, we have to take it away. So then with that comes, okay, how do we create a championship culture? And culture is a word that gets thrown out there a lot. And it's easy to say, hey, we got to put in a great culture. But to me, culture is not necessarily about fancy quotes on a wall or, you know, little cute sayings. To me, culture is a couple things. And when I was asked in interviews, how are you going to create great culture? Number one, and I'm going to show some clips on this in a second. The number one way to have great culture is for your best players to do it right. When your best players do it right, everybody else follows suit. If your best players don't do it right, why would the other players do it? That's the number one way to have it. And if you look across the history of the last little bit in the NHL, and look at the teams that have had multiple years of high success. Detroit Red Wings back with Zetterberg and Datsuk and Lindstrom, their best players did it right. I saw it firsthand. The Boston Bruins, Char and Patrice Bergeron, that's why they, even when they left, they kept winning. The Pittsburgh Penguins with Sidney Crosby, fast forward to Tampa, to Florida, their best players do it right. I saw it firsthand in Tampa. So that's one of the biggest things. Make sure you get your best players to do it right. Number two is to create a championship standard and then hold them accountable to that. And I'm going to talk more about that in a second, okay? That's a huge thing. You also got to create a culture of confidence. Well, how do you create that culture of confidence? I really believe the best way to be confident is to put the work in. And if you've put the work in, you're way more apt to feel confident as you walk into that test. You just think of school. Like if you're walking into a test and you know you studied properly, you know you're going to have a chance to have a ton of success. If you didn't study at all, you're walking in there just hoping. Okay, so there's a confidence involved with that. And then building winning habits. Building the winning hockey habits. That has to be part of how you implement great culture. Stopping on pucks. Okay, I call it no poke and hope. So I'll give you a little funny story. I said this so much in Detroit. So what poke and hope is to me is you go up, you know, it's a puck there. I go up, I poke it, and if I get it, I go in for a nice scoring chance. But 60% of the time, they go in for a nice scoring chance, or 50-50 hockey doesn't win. So I would be on our guys, no poke and hope. So I went to Dylan Larkin's wedding 2 summers ago. And the drink, you kind of name a drink now, you know, at your weddings. The drink was called Poke and Hope. So we had a good laugh on that one. But that's a huge part of it. Checking for offense. So learning how to angle and body position. I'll talk about owning the lane of the puck. We'll show some of those things. Manage the puck, short shifts, all those things. It's super important. That's how you create the culture. I want to show you these clips because this is what I was talking about, your best players doing it right. Okay, this is Sidney Crosby, and honestly, not many, unfortunately, I wish he was American, not many players have won as much as that guy's won. And just watching here, just watch these highlighted, watch how hard he gets back, he ends up intercepting the play. Same idea here, you know, I always say work ethic can make up for mistakes. So they have a turnover, but his work ethic, he gets back. I got these from Mike Vellucci, who coached him, who's going to be an assistant coach with me. Turnover here, boom, he gets back in that area. Okay, so great job on that. Disrupts the play. I love this one. Standing against the wall, watch him bury his head and go. So he's not hoping that somebody else does it. He's doing it. Okay? If you do that, everybody else has to follow suit. So if you watch this clip here, now the players on his team, the players on his line, everybody has to follow suit, and now you have 5 guys inside of Buffalo's 3. That's how you win, that's how you have great cultures, making sure your best players do it right. So, the next step is, okay, leadership. And how are we going to, part of culture is making sure you have great leadership. I've been asked a lot about what I learned the most in Tampa during my time under John Cooper. And for me, it was a reminder of holding your players accountable, being demanding, but always be in the fight with them. And I think Coop does that as good or better than anybody in the National Hockey League. And I think when I've been at my best, that's what I've done. I've been able to be demanding on them, but they know I'm in the fight with them. That's what separates them. It's not X's and O's. It's not a cute little play. It's not this structure. It's that right there. It's that leadership. Our number one job is leadership. That allows you then, because the importance is to connect with your players. It's hard to be hard on players if you don't have a relationship. So I really like the quote at the bottom by Joe Madden, the baseball pitcher. Before we can manage and lead, you have to establish trust. And before you can establish trust, you need to establish a personal relationship with your players. I 100% believe that. 100%. If you do that, then you can create that buy-in that's needed. And that's critically important in order to lead people. In order to create that championship standard, you have to create what I would call non-negotiables. What are the things you're not going to bend on at all? What are the things that you hold everybody exactly equal to? Okay, and I'm going to start by giving you an example of something that I don't think is a non-negotiable. Okay, I'll start with this, and I'll give you why. Turnovers is a huge thing in the NHL. And, you know, in Tampa, if we turned over more than X number, we usually lost, and less than X number, we usually won. So it's important that we manage those turnovers. But we weren't going to hold Nikita Kucherov and Luke Glendening to the exact same standard when it came to turnovers. Okay? And the reason for that is when Nikita Kucherov would make a play, the chance of it being a big-time play was exponential. And the chance that it created, it was the risk versus reward. The reward was worth it. And so if we want Nikita to make a bunch of plays, we're okay with the 1 turnover, you know, compared to the 5 great plays. Okay? Now, if there would come a time where it was like 5 turnovers for 1 play, then we have a conversation. At some point, he might be held accountable for that. But we didn't hold Luke. Luke was basically a no-turnover guy. Because ultimately, the play that Luke made wouldn't necessarily result in the same high-end play that Nikita made. And Luke knows this, by the way. That's why he played over 700-plus games in the NHL. Because he knew that. But we couldn't treat him, we treated him fair, but not equal in that manner. So that can't be a non-negotiable. Because you can't go in the room and say, you're not going to turn the puck over. And if you do, you're sitting. Unless you're prepared to sit that person. Everybody. What is non-negotiable is work ethic. So I don't care what your name is. If you don't work, you're not going to play as much. Okay? So I have inner drive to thrive. It's a cute little saying. Well, really what it is, I say this to my kids all the time. Are you getting by or getting better? You putting time in or are you improving? And there's a difference. You can fake work. Okay? Compete. The game of hockey comes down to who wins the puck battles. I'll give you a story. I have the Ted Lindsay rule. So when I was the coach of the Detroit Red Wings, I'm getting ready for training camp. And I'm in Joe Louis Arena at the time in my office, right before training camp. Ted Lindsay walks in. He's probably 91 years old. Sharp as a tack, in great shape. He was a phenomenal human being. He walks in and says, Coach, what are you doing? I said, Mr. Lindsay, we're getting ready for training camp. He says, you tell those guys, they go in the corner with another player, and they don't come out with the puck, they're a horseshit hockey player. That's a true story. It's the Ted Lindsay rule. What was true in 1950 is true in 2025. You have to win puck battles to win hockey games. So if you're not willing to compete, you're just not going to play for us. You might play for somebody else. You might get some points, but you're not going to play for us. Selfless. I always say want team success equal to that of individual success. Okay, I think it's a little bit of a fallacy to think everybody's just going to totally sacrifice their own individual just for the team. To be honest with you, we all have a little selfish nature. We all want to be a big part of it. When you're talking about high-end workers, high-end athletes, they want to be great, okay? But all I ask you is to care about it equal. And by that I mean this. This is an example I used to give in recruiting. You're a great player. Usually you play 20 minutes a night. It wasn't your night this night. You played 14. I couldn't play as much. You were grinding, so you played 14, maybe 12. We win the game in overtime. Are you happy? That's somebody that cares about team success equal to that of individual success. Okay, discipline. Discipline your mind, discipline your action, discipline the systems. It's not okay to not do it right, but also discipline the details. So, going back to my turnover conversation, if you miss a meeting on our team on a game day, you're not playing that night. And that, I don't care if your name is Luke or Nikita. That's a non-negotiable. So you have to establish what your non-negotiables are. That's a critical part of starting to establish that standard and that culture. Development, as we go in, we know in this camp, the best way for us to become a great team and organization is to develop our own players. That's how it is in the NHL, okay? Even a team like Florida, I know they made a number of really good trades. I love Billy Zito, but they did draft a lot of good players to make those trades. So you have to develop your guys. Okay, the big thing with skill development, number one, is we don't want to just develop guys that get points. We want to develop championship players. So we have to develop those winning hockey habits that I talked about. When it comes to just skill development, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but I'm a huge believer. You teach technique to acquire skill. Then you put the repetitions in to master the skill. Nikita Kucherov is on the ice 1 week after we're done playing, 5 days a week, and he probably takes 500 wall rims, gets them on his backhand, pops them to the middle. Why is he so good at it? Because he puts the time, he works past portal. That's the type of repetition it takes to master. Once you've done that, now our skills coach is big into constraint-led approach, meaning once you have those skills, now we got to put you in situations where we take options away, where we put constraints in, and you got to kind of learn to utilize that skill in a game and make certain hockey reads. When it comes to developing your team play, as I said, it starts with that foundation of winning fundamentals. And then you'll see we're going to implement things park to hole. I was just at the Chicago Bears training camp. So football is the best at this. They don't start practice 11 on 11 and hike the ball. They start practice, the running backs with their position coach, the linemen are with their position coach. And then from there they build into groupings. The running backs and linemen might be together working on blocking schemes. Then they work into 11 on 0 basically against a couple coaches with less resistance. Then it's 11 on 11. So that's the same way we kind of approach it when we're implementing our systems. I believe in static to chaos, meaning as you start to implement it, you want to do drills where, routing type drills where there's little resistance, where the players can have success. Because the number one thing with systematic plays is that the players believe in it. That's the number one thing. Okay, it doesn't matter what the system is, they have to believe in it. Then we go into chaos and we start to replicate 5-on-5 type drills. We've got to implement what our foundation is, and I'll talk about this fairly quickly. Simple wins in the NHL. Simple wins. The more reads players have to make, the more they have to think. The more they think, the slower they play. Okay, Steve Eisman would say to me all the time, even really good players struggle making reads. So you can't take all the reads out of it, but the less complicated your stuff is, the better. Okay, we coach principles over plays. We never coach plays. We always coach principles. Principles over plays. How we're going to play, and this isn't super important, this is just us, it's without the puck. We're going to be a pressure team. With the puck, we're going to be fast and relentless. We talked about the importance of 50-50 battles. The net front is where like 78% of the goals are scored, so you have to dominate the net front, and then we're going to build those winning hockey habits. These are some of those winning fundamentals. Okay, these are the things that we put on paper to say we have to make sure we cover these, we have to be great at these. I talked about stopping on pucks, no poke and hope. First 3 steps to me is like what Horza was talking about, a work ethic indicator. So the game of hockey is a transition. So when that puck transitions, your first 3 steps has to beat the opponent's first 3 steps on the track or back check, and also offensively. And you'll see that in a little bit. We'll work on angles, body position, stick on puck. We're going to work on owning the lane of the puck. There's a loose puck there, I'm going with another player, I have to make sure I get in front of him, cut his hands off, and win that puck, okay? So that's the winning hockey fundamentals that we're going to emphasize. So our first meeting in camp isn't usually in the NHL, it's a breakout, or it's a forecheck, or it's whatever. Our first meeting in camp is going to be these, okay? So here's an example, stopping the puck, stopping the puck, stick on puck, pointer goes through him, okay? This is Nikita Kucherov, same idea. So as he goes, here he gets it, he doesn't wave off him, he stops on it. Because he stops on it with a stick on puck, we can play offense. Landon Slaggert, same idea, stick on puck, physical, great opportunity created off that. That's got to be what we're about, okay? This is Connor Bedard, doesn't wave off, Leo Carlson stops on him, so now he wins the puck, he allows his teammate to get it. Okay, great job here by Nolan Allen, same idea. Body position, making sure you're making it hard on the opponent. Okay, this is angling. Angling to me is critical. It's one of my most important things in coaching. And it's taking good ice, taking the opponent, forcing him for good ice into bad ice. So great job here in the angle, cutting him off. Okay, this is owning the lane of the puck, what I just talked about. Great example, Connor Geekie, getting inside the hands. This is an even better probably example. You're watching the Chicago player, Nolan Allen, getting inside hands. Now because of that, he's got the puck. Okay, now you're watching the first 3 steps. Unbelievable job here, both reloading and pressure. Because of that, we create a turnover. Now we can create offense off that. That first 3 steps is critical. Okay, same idea here. What could have been an outnumbered rush for Anaheim instead turns into numbers for us. And because we have numbers, now we stay up and we can create a potential turnover. And then this one's just as important. It's recognizing the expected possession. On expected possession, we want to beat our opponents up the ice. So here we go, we beat our opponents up the ice and we go. Good breakaway opportunity for it. That's what our first meeting is going to be. Okay, and I'll show you now what we're going to do off that. This is kind of just my plan. We don't have to go into this whole thing, but this is day one of practice. So our meeting, the way we'll do it, we're restricted 105 minutes on the ice, 3 hours for the day. So we're going to walk in, we're going to have a meeting 7 minutes before we go on the ice. It's going to be on those winning fundamentals. Then we're going to go out and practice, and I'll give you a feel for these drills. I just got to get so I can draw here. I'll give you, give you a feel for these drills. So this first one is just a simple warm-up. This is what we're going to do first. But you do need touches, and I'm going to tell you this, the number one skill missed in youth hockey is passing by a country mile. So the more you can do any kind of drill where you make them pass and receive, the better. But it's a good little warm-up drill. You're getting your goalies going. Okay, now we're going to work in, remember, this is day one of camp, so we're going to work some flow into it. So basically, this player here and this player here are going to go end up on a 2-on-0 together. They're going to end up in this area and this area. We want to pass before the top of the circle. And when you one time or two touch a puck, meaning get it off quickly, your shooting percentage goes up exponentially. So that's the emphasis in this drill. So this player's going to leave, he's going to get this player's going to leave, he's going to get a puck from a player in this line. Basically, they're going to exchange, then they're going to loop here, come, and the next guy goes. So I'll let you watch it as it goes. So here, he gives it to the other guy, and then you're looking for that quick shot. You see that one-timer there. So that's a huge emphasis for us. So boom, you kind of go through that, and it goes back and forth. We call that the BC 2-on-0. So you get a feel for that drill. Okay? Then this is one of my favorite drills, and I think this is super relevant to anybody in youth hockey. I had our 14U team do it this year that my son played on. So what will happen on this drill is ultimately these two players are going to cross, but they're going to go down 2-on-0. After the shot, they're going to either stop or tight turn. Now what you really should do is stop. The only issue is you do chew up the ice. I would tell you with youth hockey, make them stop 100% because they got to stay close to each other. These guys are going to cross, but they're going to give one of these two players the puck. And now he's got to pass it to his partner, and then they got to pass it to each other before they get up the ice. So you got to make all those passes. It's an excellent drill. I'll let it play out, so if you're videotaping it, you can see it. Same idea though. You want to one touch the puck. You see where they stop or tight turn, and then each guy should touch the puck. Great stop here. He gives it to his partner. Boom. Boom, and it's hard. I'm telling you, early, our 14U team, they struggled with it. But by the end of the year, the coach stayed with it. Great job by Chase Matthew, coaches my kid. Great coach. He stayed with it. By the end, they did an excellent job. Okay, so it's an awesome, I think, awesome drill. But the other thing that drill's doing, if you notice, is the first 3 steps. So they have to stop and they have to go back the other way. So now you're building that habit in from a flow drill. So the next one builds on that. It's a 2-on-1 back check. So these guys now are going to go straight up the ice. So this guy didn't mess it, but they're going to go straight up the ice like this. Okay, so they go straight up the ice. They go into 2-on-1, and then as soon as they shoot the puck, these two forwards are tracking. This guy's trying to beat him up the ice, and these forwards are sprinting up the ice. So again, you're trying to win that transition race. So it goes, that guy screwed it up, he shouldn't have crossed, he's trying to go straight up the ice. You'll see it here, stop, and the forwards are tracking, the defenseman's trying to join the rush to make it a 3-on-1, and you're building that first 3-step mentality, that we're gonna win those first 3 steps both ways. Both offensively and defensively, we're gonna win those first 3 steps. Okay, from there, same idea. This is wall sheet 1-on-1. So basically what happens, it's a 1-on-1. After the 1-on-1, the D-men's trying to beat the forward up the ice offensively, the forward's trying to beat the D-men defensively. So it's the same thing here, and again, you're working on those first 3 steps, winning that transition race. It's conditioning, it's hard, which we need this to be a part of what we're doing, but it also is building that habit in. Okay. This is my probably favorite angle game, especially to start. Or not game, drill. Well, Porter 1-on-1. So we're going to leave without a puck here. You're going to get it, get it, and by the time you get it back, you're right here. You're going to skate to the blue, and you're going to give it to the guy standing at the dot. Same thing's going on at the other corner. So that guy at the dot shouldn't move till he gets the puck, and then he should drive outside this dot. So now Sider's job is to get inside the good ice and force him to the bad ice. drag your stick, sweep them down the wall, force them to the bad ice. Try not to skate forwards. Okay, now I wanted them to play this out. We had never done that before, so they weren't quite on it, whatever. Then you'll see a second rep here with Bert. So now Bertuzzi's going to go, he gets the puck. Same idea, gives it to him. Real good job taking good ice, forcing the bad ice. Great stick. He gets beat a little bit here on the low side, but it's a great drill. It just goes on the whistle, you start. So whistle stops, whistle starts, and after you go in the corner, after you're the guy in the corner, you go to the middle. And that's how you kind of rotate the guys through. Talked about owning the lane of the puck. So this is a great drill. On this drill, the coach either lays the puck here or he lays it off the wall. If you have no hands, you lay it off the wall. You want it to get around back to here so guys don't kill each other at the boards, okay? So generally that's what I do because I have no hands. But as you watch this here, the second rep's the best. And then what they do, whoever owns the lane and wins the puck, he can go high or low. And now it's a quick little 2-on-1. You're trying to beat your guy to the net. If it's low, this player's attacking the goal, this player's shooting the puck. So go high or low off that. You see him, and that's, again, the second rep to me is the best. So as we go here, you'll see this second rep. We lay it in here. Boom. Own the lane of the puck. He wins it, gives it to his guy, beats him back to the net. So that, to me, is a great drill. Now we're again, this is a little bit of mentality, winning one-on-one battles. There's a one-on-one going on at the other end. On the whistle, it's beat your guy up the ice, and there's a second puck for you. So you have an incentive for those first 3 steps. So there's a mentality of battle, but there's also the mentality of winning those first 3 steps, and then it's a one-on-one coming back the other way. Great, great.